Hey, Foot Clan, great show for you today. We got Rising Stars. We got some preseason recap, all the news. We got a mailbag. It's going to be awesome. Before we get into it, I want to tell you about the Time Suck podcast. Look, on this show, we make a priority to inform you and to entertain you, and that's what we love about the Time Suck podcast. We've talked to Dan Cummins over there. We basically said, hey, look, we've got listeners that enjoy being entertained and learning something new. You got them as well, so we're telling each other's listeners about each other's podcasts, and the Time Suck podcast is an experiment in curiosity. Look, the point of the podcast is you actually learn something new every week. Education doesn't have to be boring, and listeners basically submit topics that Dan researches and brings the knowledge, and I'm telling you, in an entertaining way. And look, this isn't for the kiddies, but you got to check it out. That's timesuckpodcast.com. Check it out at timesuckpodcast.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Play Draft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
The football season has arrived.
It's fresh. I watched so much football this weekend.
It has stepped off the train. It is unpacked. It's clothes, and it is here for a while.
It put the clothes into the
drawers,
into the actual furniture. Like this is not just a
temporary stay.
Yeah, they're moved in. They're ready.
Welcome in to the podcast. I heard the research suggests August 26th is the day the most fantasy football drafts will take place this year. August 26th is a Saturday, I believe. And so that makes a whole lot of sense. Everybody will be drafting. However, you might have already drafted. You might be about to draft, and we've got everything you need on the show today. The Fantasy Footballers back again, 5 days a week. Our rising stars on the show today. We'll be talking about players we thought stood out from week one in the preseason, maybe somebody that's been showing signs of life in camp. We're going to recap some of those preseason games, specifically get into the rookies. How did the rookies look in week one, their first opportunity to get on the field? We've said it time and again on this show. The preseason's not about the stat line. It's about what your eyes tell you. And it can go both ways.
Right.
You can see a player, and you can say, wow, they got nothing left. And you can go the other direction and say, wow, that player, throwing it out there, I saw that with Joe Mixon this weekend. So we're going to get into some mailbag, some other news, catch you up on injuries. It's going to be a busy show. It's going to be a good show. I can promise you that.
Show.
All right, find us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. The website's thefantasyfootballers.com. The fantasy community, 3,000 strong over at jointhefoot.com. And look, I know that these guys are prepped up and ready to give you their takes on these games.
So many takes, man.
So many takes.
I'm in full restraint over here. I don't want to take vomit all over the place.
Yeah, that's a weird phrase, bro. You guys have any quick thoughts before we get started here?
Just a reminder to check out ballerslive.com because we got a live show coming up here in a couple of weeks.
Shouldn't have given you the chance.
The tickets are on sale at ballerslive.com.
All right, in lieu of a quick question, we're going to get right into the Rising Stars.
Raising Cane's Rising Stars of the Week.
All right. I'm going to kick this thing off. And by the way, on Friday, I'm telling you, we finished the episode. The Ezekiel Elliott news broke on the episode. We were able to talk about it a little bit, but we couldn't dig in, right? I mean, we were in the middle of the show. We hit the breaking news button and dropped the 6-game suspension news. And then Mike is literally pressing the publish button on the episode, and I'm in the other room, and I'm screaming, Sammy Watkins just got traded.
Yeah, and it's full slow motion for me going, no, because I had already clicked the mouse. I mean, the episode was already live.
I know. And so we're going to talk about those trades today. My rising star benefits from these
direct
trades.
result.
Direct result. It's Zach Ertz. Now, Jason, this morning in our we do a company league over on SleeperBot, which, by the way, they just added like 3-team trading, which I thought was crazy cool.
Right up your alley.
I've always wanted to do that, but I've needed to use like a Google Doc to try to organize the trades. So that's pretty cool on the SleeperBot app. But Zach Ertz is my rising star. I think Jordan Matthews leaving the middle of the field to Nelson Aguilar, it means good things for Zach Ertz because I think the volume will be there for Zach Ertz. Alshon Jeffrey is not going to be the peppered volume type of guy. Wentz looked good so far this preseason. He's a player that I think can make a move forward, and Zach Ertz is sure-handed. Look, don't count on him for the red zone. Don't count on Zach Ertz to give you 10 times. This is not Rob Gronkowski. This is not Jordan Reed. This is more of a Travis Kelce.
Yes.
And so I like Zach Ertz. He's moving up my board. He's been on the must-draft list at the back end of any best ball, at the back end of any league that I haven't taken an early tight end. But I really think Zach Ertz, without Jordan Matthews in the middle of the field, it kind of erases the concern I had when they brought in a couple of wide receivers.
Yeah, I can say when I took Zach Ertz in the league, it was the first time, and it was directly because of this news, it was the first time I've taken him over players that I had, Kyle Rudolph. I took Zach Ertz over Kyle Rudolph.
That's still madness.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that, but the opportunity now I think is huge for Ertz. He's shown flashes of brilliance. So I'll get into mine. My rising star is a guy that you might be a little worried about right now. You might be fading because it just came out that he's got a foot injury. And so you go, why is he your rising star? But that is rookie running back Leonard Fournette. Now, we don't know anything about the foot injury. We don't know anything to the extreme. Like, there is no news out there other than he has a foot injury. And we're
going to take it easy.
Yeah, we're going to take it easy on him. I mean, I don't believe this is anything yet. If news comes out next week that, he's got a Liz Frank injury, obviously that changes things. But I think this is giving him rest. The reason he is a rising star to me, well, I watched all these games, took notes on everybody. There were a few players that stood out above the rest, and one of them was Leonard Fournette. Much more so even than Mixon, who looked great. But Leonard Fournette, to me, you saw Chris Ivory come out, get those first few carries, which is so stupid, Jacksonville. Stop it. And then
you got to make the rookie earn the job,
yeah,
Jason.
You got to make him earn the job when you take him
fourth overall.
So dumb. But when Leonard Fournette came out, it reminded me exactly of what we saw from David Johnson, where as a Cardinals fan, I was so frustrated whenever they take him out and they put in someone else because it's like, dude, David Johnson would have got that corner. He would have picked up the first, and you stopped the whole drive by putting in Chris Johnson. And I saw that when Yeldon came in, and I saw that when Ivory was there. There was a different level of motor, and they want to run. I mean, they showed it in the preseason. They handoff. If they can pick up a first down with 3 handoffs in a row, they're going to do it. And here's the thing. I think they're going to be able to pick up the first downs now. Watching Fournette, I was like, oh, they're going to be able to run the ball 3 times in a row and then run it again the next play because they're still on the field. That's why Leonard Fournette is my rising star.
He did look very, very strong.
He's pretty strong.
So mine, look, Foot Clan, something happened on Sunday, and it included my mentions being set ablaze because there was some smooth routes, there was some smooth catches. I mean, I was here last week, and to borrow a line from one of the listeners on Twitter saying, I may need to just get a room at the Galladay Inn.
Oh, my gosh.
So silly.
But
my gosh.
Kenny G dropping 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions for 53 yards. And these
acrobatic.
These were big boy receptions. I mean, he made a full adjustment on the ball. He used his size.
These were no Jordan Matthews receptions. These were big boy receptions.
Sure, that's fair. But he looked great. He's still down on the depth chart, but he has. I mean, last week I talked about him as someone who maybe you take a flyer on him now in an actual redraft league.
Wouldn't it be great if you could pre-draft players at their current value for your future drafts? Wouldn't it be nice to say, hey, I'm claiming Galladay in the 15th.
It's like the opposite of a keeper.
Before
like
he does anything.
But
an early keeper league.
But he's now officially, to me, he's in that department of one of your last picks. Grab Kenny Galladay because there is a spot for him on this roster. Anquan Bolden was the red zone threat last year. 8 touchdowns, I believe. That he's gone.
No guarantee that Ebron does anything.
Yeah,
one injury in that receiving core, and Galladay could go to the stratosphere. That's and that's not hyperbole because we love Stafford. Stafford's just right in 4,200 yards. I mean, it's just done. Last 5 years, locked and loaded. So if somebody's hurt, if Jones doesn't perform and Galladay flashes, I don't mind it. I just hate the fact that his ADP is going to get hurt by a couple of preseason TDs.
I don't think it will skyrocket though, but he could
first round.
He
first
could
round
creep into the
smooth
single digits,
routes.
but he's humongous. He's very athletic for his size, and I mean, all signs point to Kenny Galladay being a good player in this league.
Yeah, he should be able to. I do think we need to keep in mind those receptions were not from Stafford.
Sure,
so he was still grain of salt.
Yeah, it probably would have been better passes if they were from Stafford.
That's true. He might not have needed to adjust so heavily.
Zach Ertz, Leonard Fournette, Kenny Galladay, those were this week's Raising Cane's Rising Stars of the week.
Because they're delicious.
Remember, game day tastes better with Raising Cane's tailgates full of fresh 24-hour marinated, hand-battered chicken fingers and fresh brewed sweet tea. Visit RaisingCanes.com to find your nearest location. Let's talk news.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, I don't know where the news begins and the recap ends or vice versa, whatever you might say. We've got a lot to talk about.
Best.
We're going to start with the headliner that everybody wanted us to discuss right away, the big boy, big-time, NBA-style slam dunk trade.
It was an NBA trade.
3-team. We were just talking. 3-team trade.
Sammy Watkins traded to the Rams. The Rams pick up Watkins. Buffalo picks up a corner. And this is right after Sammy Watkins and Tyrod Taylor looked great. If you saw Tyrod Taylor's Twitter account, he had just said something like, "We're just getting started," with a picture of him and tagging Watkins.
Man, that's brutal.
Quickly deleted it. And then in a simultaneous move, the Bills acquired Jordan Matthews from the Eagles, traded away Darby, who is a stud. Surprising moves from the front office. However, a whole new front office.
Is that the right?
Yeah, they basically picked up an extra 2 and a 3 in these transactions to kind of take what I would view as instant downgrades at the positions, right? You downgrade from Watkins to Matthews, and we'll talk more about Matthews because he had an injury this weekend. And then you downgraded at corner, picking up the corner from the Rams.
It shows that the Bills are not saying that they are in a mode right now to compete. I mean, these are moves that just say where their
seen
GM.
What the Jets are doing.
It's a good luck move for Tyrod Taylor. It's a good luck this year. Let's talk about the fantasy implications here. Sammy Watkins in a contract year, traded to probably the worst destination you could have imagined. I don't know if I could pick another place for him to go where you would be less excited to see Sammy Watkins' talent. At least you knew with Taylor when Watkins was on the field, they had a rapport. It was built in. Taylor could throw the deep ball.
Great at the scrambling. I mean, a lot of those plays came while Tyrod would scramble around, find Sammy open down the field. It'd be great. You're not going to be seeing that same type of playing from Jared Goff. Now, Jared Goff,
he gets an upgrade.
Yes, absolutely he does.
From 31 to 28. That's what I moved him up, from 31 to 28.
That sounds appropriate. I mean, he's going from having to try to fake like Tavon Austin can be a #1 wide receiver to having a true legitimate. I mean, last episode we talked all about Sammy Watkins. I was super high on Sammy. I've moved Sammy down considerably. He went from being basically the wide receiver 12 all the way down into my 20s.
Yep.
He went from 16 to 26 or something for me.
He dropped for me as well.
His talent is still capable of, the upside I don't think is completely removed, but there are so many more variables now while you're drafting. He's going to a brand new team. He has to learn an offense. He has no rapport with the quarterback. As of today, maybe not 3 years from now, but today, Jared Goff is a worse quarterback than Tyrod Taylor. This is a quarterback downgrade for him, and he is no longer in a position where he's pretty much alone. I mean, I know you've got, the aging, ageless Anquan Bolden along with a rookie, Zay Jones in Buffalo, but it was the Sammy Watkins show. Now he comes over where you've still got a new, slot rookie in Cooper Kupp. You have Tavon Austin, although he's not healthy right now. He's still involved. They signed Robert Woods. It's so funny that Robert Woods and Sammy
Robert
Watkins.
Woods is cursing the name of Sammy Watkins.
I wanted to be the one, Sammy. Stay away.
It's a downgrade for me because what Sammy does best, or what he has shown he did best in Buffalo, was the deep pass, and Jared Goff would have to improve tremendously in the Rams' offense. And now, granted, Kenny Britt was able to be a 1,000-yard receiver, so it's not
Britt. Just for the record, 68, 1,005. That was good enough for 30th.
right.
With
So
Goff.
just for the aware, that's 30th in wide receiver.
It's not an RIP sentence for Sammy Watkins' fantasy value,
No,
but
no.
it's a downgrade for sure.
Could be great. It's just basically makes the risk and the unknown so
Yeah.
high that you got to factor that in while you draft.
His ADP will be very interesting.
It'll plummet.
If you have Robert Woods' ADP is gone. I mean, like if he was being drafted in the end, I liked him in the end. It's over because I mean Cooper Kupp looks good. Robert Woods will be a bit part player there, and I can officially take him out of my maybe he'll be something range. It helps Goff. It probably helps the running game in the sense that, look, having more outside threats, having a number one receiver, it can't hurt that situation, although they didn't look like they could run the ball this weekend. Let's talk about the other side of this trade. Buffalo goes, they pick up Jordan Matthews. Now, Jordan Matthews suffered a chip fracture in his first practice 15 minutes in with the Buffalo Bills, is considered week to week.
I think this means that Sammy Watkins should be healthy. Apparently, it was the role in Buffalo as the number one wide receiver that causes injuries.
So Tyrod Taylor, let's talk about if you had high hopes for Tyrod Taylor, where are they now?
They're in the exact same spot for me. If you look at what he has done for fantasy purposes, yes, his passing production goes down. I mean, shocker. It goes down when Sammy Watkins is not there. However, that's when he activates his ultimate fantasy cheats and he runs the ball more. So his actual fantasy output stays relatively the same. I was very excited for Jordan Matthews. The team gave up a lot, in my opinion, with Darby and the third-round pick to get Matthews. And Matthews would have projected as the number one wide receiver in the offense. But now he'll be out it's a bone chip. So you're talking 4 to 6 weeks for it to heal up. Pain tolerance. Does he wear a flak jacket when he's out there? And now he's doesn't get to practice and learn the system. The season will be going by the time he is fully healthy. So it's Zay Jones becomes moderately interesting in a PPR situation. And I think this is Anquan Bolden once again is going to catch like 7 touchdowns just de facto.
What about Charles Clay?
If his knees can hold up.
If you look at Taylor has no consistency at the wide receiver position anymore.
Robert Woods gone.
Goodwin's gone, Woods gone, Watkins gone. Rookie and Jones, brand new free agent pickup in Bolden. Charles Clay's the only piece of that offense that's been there for a long time, along with LaShawn McCoy. And some have talked about LaShawn McCoy being the receiving leader on this team.
Yeah, Shady is going to be just absolutely dominant for
He'll be
fantasy
getting
purposes.
pretend hurt 8 times a game.
I will say this, there are a lot of fantasy players who believe in, how do the vibes of a team feel, the good vibes, bad vibes. Right now in Buffalo, I don't think things are going well.
And
I'm just saying, like, the trend for the team.
Were you speaking as like representative of the last decade? Were you speaking as the last 10 years?
Coming into this season, I mean, I feel like 3 months ago there was hope for a healthy Sammy and things started looking good, but the fact that they've traded away some of their better defensive players to take a downgrade, Jonathan Williams got hurt, Sammy Watkins was gone, now Jordan Matthews is hurt. It just feels like an offense right now where, of course, I want Shady. I think Jordan Matthews could be a good late round guy now who might miss week 1.
That may make him a value.
Yes.
Now.
Right. It's just one of those situations where things aren't looking rosy, and if you want to avoid those situations, that might be a team that you look, elsewhere at the wide receiver position at least.
I think that offense would be in a ton of trouble if McCoy gets hurt. I don't know how they move the ball at all.
Well, I mean, Jonathan Williams luckily looked good in his limited time, but you are right. If Shady goes down, that offense is going to be in trouble.
All right, let's talk about the suspension a little bit further. Ezekiel Elliott, let's give the lay of the land. What is the situation right now for Zeke? Reports this weekend talked about appeal. What are you expecting, Mike?
Yeah, so what we know right now, it is a 6-game suspension. Ezekiel Elliott has said that he will appeal. It's about to get nasty if he moves forward with the appeal. And then it was also reported the NFL still they are looking into other incidents, and that we're not talking about the bar brawl, because the NFL has said they were closing that, but there are still other incidents that Ezekiel Elliott could face punishment for. I don't know that I expect more games to be tacked on, but I don't expect a situation where Elliott appeals and then you get like a Big Ben Roethlisberger. Well, okay, we'll take a couple games off of it. I think it's going to be a hard cap at 6 games. And on top of that, Zeke has been warned that if he violates the player policy again in a way that the NFL deems is egregious, Elliott could just be full-on banned from the NFL. So Zeke has been put on notice that playing in the NFL is not a right but a privilege.
Yeah, you know, we talked about the hypothetical suspension levels that he would receive. And you've seen a pattern of behavior in Zeke. And I'm not going to take, I'm not going to get on a high horse for everything here. We've talked about all the challenges that a young man faces when he's handed millions of dollars. But
you got to be better.
But look, you cannot do what you've done. And in my opinion, it is a very bad sign that he wasn't willing to take it on the chin and move on. That's the hope I had. I had the hope that maybe he'd get a 4-game, he'd take it on the chin, he'd learn from it. Jason Witten's come out and said that already. You don't put your hand on a woman. You don't do this. Whatever the case may be, it seems like he's at least being surrounded by some people that are enabling an entitlement attitude here.
Jerry Jones.
Yeah, and maybe it's Jerry Jones, but maybe it's other players too. Someone needs to come along. As a person, I want to see someone come alongside him and turn this around because, look, fantasy-wise, you lose a player like that in fantasy, it sucks. But this is a person here, and the stuff that's gone on, where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm not going to make conclusions about every little detail. But I was hoping he would be willing to accept that and show the NFL, show his fans. As far as I'm concerned, he's hurting the brand as well because he's saying to himself, he's putting himself out there to be exposed on TMZ or exposed for this and that.
Like I said, it can get
just
nastier.
fighting and fighting and fighting instead of saying, you know what?
Done nothing wrong.
How about I'm sorry? How about, look, I've made mistakes. I'm going to take it on the chin. I'm going to turn my life around, and I'm going to be out on that field for the next 10 years. Because he could do that.
Right.
Or you can go the other way.
Moving to fantasy football.
Oh, yeah. It's all part of the game. In fact, actually what's funny is I went on a podcast last week, and they asked me that question. They said, do you ever just not draft players on moral grounds? I mean, and they weren't making a judgment. No. They weren't just saying, like, I wouldn't or I would. And I said, it's hard. We distance ourselves from the player a lot of the time. Sometimes we get heat because we're joking about a player being hurt just because we see stat lines and we see the name on the baseball card, so to speak, and we don't see between the lines. But, hey, if you don't want to do that, that's your prerogative in your league. All right, injury updates. Ajayi, yet to receive medical clearance. Mike, what's the story with Ajayi?
Well, it came out that perhaps he is out of the concussion protocol. People were, I think, reading into what Adam Gase had said, but it is now come out that he is still yet to receive medical clearance for the concussion, and he could be joined now by Kenyan Drake, who left today's practice with a possible head injury.
Oh, man.
So prepare for Damian Williams.
Let me tell you what my notes say on Damian Williams from this preseason, because I had plenty of notes on Damian Williams. He is so involved and will clearly be the guy, and he should not be.
They love him, apparently.
So bad. He's not good. And if he gets, we always say, like, opportunity is king. If he gets 20 carries, you can probably start him, but you are going to be unhappy the entire time you watch him play.
He's going to Kenneth Farrow you.
Yeah. But you want to know what you will be happy with before we continue on to more sad news of, like, Devonta Freeman. But the draft day app The Draft Day app, we've had a lot of people saying this is what they've been waiting for forever. They've already got the ultimate draft kit. They've been doing their research. They just wish there was a way that they could track, who's been drafted. Check guys off a list, maybe resort our rankings. Well, Draft Day app has taken our rankings, put it in an app for Android or for iOS. Is a really simple, easy-to-use, elegant design. I actually love it. I've used it many times over the last few weeks for real live drafts, and I think you're going to love it. It's not for every league. If you play in an IDP league or auction, it's not there, but for 99% of leagues, you take our rankings, put them in there, customize them to your liking, then you go in the draft, and we always say on our tips,
the rankings are already in there.
Yes.
You don't have to put them in.
No, you don't have. I'm just saying you
can
start with
them.
that, and you can resort them.
Gotcha.
But the cool thing is we always say track other teams. Know who does the team that's near you. Do they have a quarterback already? Do they not? I used to do this on paper with a pen. Now the draft app it'll track all that for you as you draft people and check them off.
Caveman.
Yeah, so it's a great app. Check it out. It's draftdayapp.com. Leave a review if you like it. Draftdayapp.com. I think you'll love it.
And we want to thank SeatGeek for sponsoring the show. Buying tickets can be complicated and confusing, but there is a simpler way to buy with SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to your favorite team's games, whether you're searching for a last-minute deal, buying a gift for a loved one, or even jumping on some NFL tickets early. SeatGeek helps you find the best seats at the best prices, fully guaranteed. Nothing beats being there in person for the biggest plays of the year, and the SeatGeek app will get you closer to the action. We all have the app. I can tell you from personal experience, it makes getting a ticket just extremely
simple.
Quick, very, very streamlined. SeatGeek saves you time and money by searching multiple ticket sites to compare prices, find amazing deals, and you get the most bang for your buck. SeatGeek grades every ticket based on value to help you immediately identify the best seats to fit your budget. So, Foot Clan, this is what we need you to do, because the best part is, for our listeners, you can get $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. You download the SeatGeek app, enter the promo code FOOTBALLERS today. That's promo code FOOTBALLERS for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase.
All right, let's talk more injuries. Devonta Freeman in the concussion protocol, out for the Steelers game. It looks like it was concussion symptoms. They thought maybe it was heat symptoms at first, like getting overheated, but they put him in the protocol. He'll be out for this week, and we'll see what happens from there. No real major long-term concern. This is cool. Sterling Shepard. He's resumed practicing. That injury that looked so bad ended up being a low ankle sprain, and he's back after a couple weeks. Leonard Fournette sat out due to a foot injury. Marqise Lee, sticking with the Jaguars,
That's excellent.
was carted off with an apparent right ankle injury. Avoided a serious injury. I'm hearing high ankle sprain.
He was air casted. They carted him off.
Paul Pierce stuff. Right
it was not good, but Lee has avoided the serious injury.
Jason, just real quick, Leonard Fournette, not worried yet?
I'm not worried at all yet.
I mean, this is what he dealt with in college last
year.
year.
It could be. I mean, he dealt with ankle issues, and that is near the foot, so maybe. But all they said is there's a foot issue. He's sitting out practice.
Carlos Henderson, wide receiver, rookie for the Broncos, thumb surgery. Matt Harmon loves him, but he's going to have to wait. I feel bad for Matt Harmon when that happens, like Bruce Ellington last year.
Yeah.
Loved Bruce Ellington. You don't even get to see if what you like is on the field. All right, Pete Carroll said Paul Richardson is going to be out for a bit. AC joint sprain. If you looked at the depth chart for Seattle for week 1, it was Baldwin and it was Richardson in the 1-2 spot. That's a battle right now with Lockett and with other players that could be in that role, which includes Jermaine Kearse.
The catch that he hurt his shoulder on was pretty incredible, but
he makes big plays.
But you saw him go down. You could tell he was hurt right away.
I think this will give the opportunity for Tyler Lockett to show if he can get the job done. I think he can get the job done.
All right, let's talk about Jonathan Williams, Bills running back. Suffered a hamstring injury in the preseason opener.
But no, the reports were that he's fine. He'll be back in practice in a couple days.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. There were 2 players to me in all of preseason that stood out monumentally. One was Leonard Fournette. The other was Jonathan Williams. He looked like fire in a can. It was amazing. But the knock that has always been,
what is fire
in a can?
It looks amazing.
Listen to me. If you're homeless and you're cold. What do you need, Mike? More than
Fire
anything.
in a can.
Fire in a can.
There you go.
All right.
You need some Jonathan
So
Williams.
he
I was
looks.
going to say you need Jonathan Williams
He's
if you're
sustaining
homeless.
of life.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
The problem with
That's a high
Jonathan Williams,
praise.
all the way back through college, has always been his injury. This dude's injury history is, look, Jordan Reed and him are
Poop
cousins.
in a can, you see?
Yes, which completely extinguishes. Actually, I don't think that'll extinguish. Uh-oh. that'll just explode. So
What is happening?
this is bad
It's
news to me.
poop
I
again.
realize that they're saying it's a small injury, but there's always these small injuries that keep him out. It's worth monitoring because he is a high
Just go Billy
upside
Madison
guy.
I
on
did.
me.
I did.
That's exactly what I was
I
thinking.
heard the
of.
Billy Madison. It's poop again.
He called. This is a famous.
All right.
Families.
More Andrew Luck news for those who are just, glued to their screens with their earbuds in, trying to figure out the latest little rumor.
They're glued to their screen with their ears.
With their earbuds in.
It's going well. It's going well. Moving on.
Andrew Luck's week 1 availability, Jim Irsay acknowledged. The basic quote was this: "We've always known it was borderline for him in terms of being ready for week 1. However, it's been confirmed that he is now throwing. It has been confirmed that his arm strength is there. It's just a matter – my assumption, and I've had this injury before. He has the partially torn labrum. My assumption is he healthy enough to take a hit? Because if you saw the offensive line, you're going to take a hit, and you don't want to put him in there where the first time he falls on that same shoulder, you're back in the same boat. And so I'm still optimistic that we see him. They didn't sign a veteran quarterback. They tried to. They couldn't. Tolzien, not good. Real bad, 2 for 5.
You've got Cam Newton dealing with the same, issue, shoulder surgery, and he was throwing a month ago. He was in practice throwing quite a while ago, and he is right now working in the red zone drills, but he's not even back to full team
Participation.
Yeah, full team participation.
They both had shoulder surgery, but they are different injuries. The labrum and the rotator cuff are different injuries, so I'm not going to hold that standard to Andrew Luck.
Sure, but I believe that this shows that he is way behind where they want him to be.
Tavon Austin, hamstring, probably won't play in any of the preseason games. Josh Doctson, expected to miss at least another 4 to 5 days of camp.
Come on, Josh Doctson.
An injury. And then Roberto Aguayo has been cut by the Buccaneers. 2nd-round pick, traded up for a kicker. Did not turn out in the Sebastian Janikowski kind of way.
Yeah.
He stinks.
The Bears claimed him. He stinks because he cannot handle the pressure. And I wonder if now that the pressure of being the number 2 pick is off, you still wonder if he can. Because in practice, this guy doesn't miss. And you put him in a game and he doesn't make it.
Well, it's like Shaq and his free throws, right? All reports said Shaq would drain all his free throws in practice, but then once the lights are on,
yeah, he's
couldn't
probably
do it.
really excited to go to the Bears because there's no real pressure. He's not going to be kicking game winners. It's like, this is easy. We're down 12. Who cares? No one cares.
Poor Bears fans.
I love you, Bears.
Weekly Rewind.
All right, I think with the time left we have on today's show, we're going to dive into some of the rookie recap, so to speak, the impressions we got from some of these rookies out there, anybody else that you guys want to talk about, and we'll jump into a little mailbag, answer Foot Clan questions, and get you ready for the season. So let's start with, you want to start with the rookie running backs?
Sure.
Leonard Fournette, we talked about him. 9 rushes, 31 yards, and a touchdown. Looked great. Jason's kind of gotten into him. Mike, do you have anything you want to add about Leonard Fournette, or should we talk Dalvin Cook?
No, he looked very strong and looked like the best running back on the team, as you would expect. So,
Okay.
There's nothing really to add.
Dalvin Cook, 5 times he rushed for 13 yards, 4 of 4 targets for 30 yards in the Vikings preseason opener.
He got work, man. They put him to work right away.
The opportunity is what I love about this. I don't think Dalvin Cook looked anything super special. He did not strike me as, the same way that Mixon and Fournette did. But what is really important is for a team like the Minnesota Vikings, who have a quarterback that checks down. I mean, if you combine all the running back targets last year, you're talking close to 70 receptions. at the running back position. Dalvin Cook is very capable. I mean, that he's talented as a pass-catching back. And so the fact that 4 targets early on went to him, caught all of them, if he's used in that role, he will be a valuable fantasy asset for sure.
Love Dalvin Cook. Have him in my top 20. It's one of the reasons I don't love Kyle Rudolph the way you two love Kyle Rudolph. I think he's going to be used. He's going to be not spectacular. Last year, a lot of injuries, people off the field, and no real reliable weapon like Dalvin Cook. You had guys that could catch it if you threw it at him, but not the kind of player that Dalvin Cook is. Let's talk about –
since we're there, I just want to throw this out. The offensive line that I've been expecting improvement, they did not look good. And Sam Bradford, who I've been, championing for, did not look good. So yeah, that's a situation coming to, in future weeks. I'm going to be watching Minnesota, see if they can get their
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess that's a good transition to kind of say, look, week 1, limited reps for a lot of these players. We're trying to highlight situations for you to watch in week 2 and 3 that we will continue to watch. These are not conclusions. These are basically some early impressions.
Observations, and that's it.
Yeah. So Samaje Perine could have gone better. Could have gone better. What exactly was Matt Jones' problem in the offense?
Matt Jones had a fumbling problem.
And Samaje Perine decided to come out, fumble the ball.
Samaje Perine apparently has a fumbling problem because he's reportedly had a little ball control issues in practice, came out into live game situation, fumbled, dropped a pass essentially right after that. Now Jay Gruden he's patting him on the butt. He hasn't jumped in the bus just yet. He gave him the support, saying it's going to take him some time. But Robert Kelly,
ultimate draft kit, right?
We did.
He's in there as a value.
Yes, Robert Kelly is going to be the starting running back for the foreseeable future because Robert Kelly, while he may be unspectacular, he does not fumble the ball.
That's a good summary of Robert Kelly.
that is.
And you should take it.
He's going to get opportunity on a great offense.
Take it from Mike. Mike loves Samaje
Yes, I do.
Perine. So if Mike endorses Robert Kelly in his current role, book it.
It hurts. It hurts me, but it's what's happening.
All right, let's talk about the Camaro. All right, Saints' third-round running back Alvin
Kamara
rushed 4 times for 35 yards. Really, to me, the impression that I had of Kamara was stronger than I thought he was, right? You bring in a guy and you kind of label him with AP and Ingram there as the third down back. I like the strength I saw from Kamara. I like the vision, the speed. We already knew he had it. So very good debut for Kamara. Showed you that, he's going to have a role on this roster.
They wanted to see what he could do. I mean, their first 2 plays were back-to-back handoffs to Kamara, and then he had a full Madden highlight where he ran into the line. He's just trucking, keeps his feet moving somehow, and then ends up taking it out to the outside for a big gain. And Kamara will never be a 3-down guy, but his skills will be utilized to the fullest with the Saints.
Yeah. I mean, a Camaro is never a Corvette, but you can still drive it.
You're going to anger the Camaro people.
DeAngelo Henderson showed some big play ability in Denver. 7 rushes, 54 and a touchdown. I thought the breakaway speed was really impressive from DeAngelo Henderson. I've also been very public about the fact I don't believe their 2018 running back is on the roster. Maybe it is, but I think there's an opportunity there in Denver. If DeAngelo Henderson finds a crease with that rotation, he may be able to do something.
It could be. Anderson, I thought, looked good, though.
Yeah,
Anderson looked ready to play.
Anderson did look good, but the backfield is one where they're going to be a full RBBC. We have no idea what to expect from Jamal Charles. They're already saying, week 2 of preseason, they're not sure if he's going to be ready for that. So DeAngelo Henderson, to me, is a guy, worth keeping your eyes on. You've got injuries and injury history in front of him right now, and then Devonta Booker.
All right, this is
who's injured.
Right.
This is a situation I wanted your thoughts on. Joe Williams, 7 rushes, 60 yards in the preseason opener. Mind you, Matt Breida.
Breida. Yep.
Breida, 11 rushes for 40 yards. I had added him in.
He played in front of Williams.
Yeah, I added him in our Dynasty League a little while back because the press around Breida in camp was good. What do you think about Williams' performance? How do you evaluate that backfield with how these two players played in week 1? Because both were very good.
I thought that Breida looked very impressive, and he did play in front of Joe Williams. So that was the biggest takeaway, is just the stamp on the depth chart, at least for week 1. That could change. I mean, Joe Williams
ran like a man who does not want to be third on the depth chart.
Yeah, and yeah, that's a fair assessment. But then it was Breida and Williams were kind of switching, going back and forth. But it's where all off season the narrative had become Carlos Hyde's going to get cut. They don't like Carlos Hyde. Joe Williams is going to be the guy to come into preseason week 1 and be playing behind Breida. That is what I'm reading into, where it's not automatically Joe Williams will be the guy if something happens to Carlos Hyde.
And we talk about in preseason, you can't watch the box score and know what happened. You see 7 rushes for 60 yards, you go, oh, that was great. You don't realize he was playing against threes. It's not like Samaje Perine. Samaje Perine came in way early in the game. He was replacing Rob Kelly against ones. This is like, okay, I'm you can't fault a guy for playing well against threes. That's what he should do. But you should not get too excited about a guy who performs well against super inferior competition.
Let's talk about the rookie quarterbacks, Trubisky, Kizer. What did you see from these guys? What did you like? Mahomes, you can throw him in there as well.
Yes.
Mahomes had a nice debut.
Mahomes is now officially bumped up to number 2 on the depth chart.
Yes, he was. He started out practice, now number 2. Showed off the arm on a play that got called back, but a really good throw. Made a ridiculously, I thought, stupid play for a touchdown. I mean, threw back. It was if Brett Favre had just been transposed his face over Mahomes on that play, I would not have been surprised it was him, because he threw back across his body, and 9 out of 10 times that ball would have been picked off. I thought it was a terrible play. But it was a touchdown, and that's what you're going to get with Mahomes. Came out today. Coaches in Cleveland said Kizer's not ready to be a starter, but he had a good debut, 11 for 18, 184 yards and a touchdown.
I'll tell you who's not ready to be a starter, Brock Osweiler. He was
really bad.
And the truth was that Kizer looked great. I mean, he made some NFL movement in the pocket. That's one of the things that I look for early for quarterbacks, and some nice step ups and step to the sides, avoid pressure, and throw the ball deep. I really liked what I saw. I still think he might hold on to the ball a little bit too long, and he is very raw, but his talent showed. He made NFL throws, tight windows, deep ball accuracy. I really liked it. But I do think that the clear winner so far from the super early week 1 preseason was Trubisky. That's a guy Andy had more belief in than the two of us coming in, and he certainly looked a whole lot better than Mike Glennon.
See, Mike Glennon did his best Brock Osweiler impression.
See,
that was some nastiness.
I disagree. I thought Mike Glennon, when you watch what play-by-play what's happening, Mike Glennon was actually okay.
Agree to disagree.
Well, go back and watch it.
I watched him too. I disagree, Mike.
When Mike Glennon, when it was like on the interception, his line did absolutely nothing, and he's playing against the Denver Broncos starting defense.
Sure,
Mitch Trubisky was not.
But, yeah, you're right. No, that's a fair point.
Where he threw the ball was 3 defenders.
But I'm saying, just go back and watch that play. He gets hit in the head. There should have been a flag. And then he had a couple plays where he hit his receivers in the hands, and they dropped it. So his 2 for 8 looks really bad in the box score. But I think that Glennon played better than that. And I know that Twitter was in full
tilt,
in full like forest fire fury for Mitch Trubisky. But and I'm not taking away from how he played. Just saying that Glennon's stat line looks terrible, but on the field, I thought he didn't look nearly as bad as his numbers would lead you to believe.
He looked 3 or 4 for 8. not 2 for 8.
No.
I didn't think he looked that good. Let me bring up a name, late round pick. Maybe this is just a name to keep in the back of your head. Markus Wheaton broke his finger. And we know Cameron Meredith is there in Chicago, but I thought Victor Cruz looked good. And I think Victor Cruz is somebody you can throw into your just pay attention to in these 2 games.
He didn't get in for a while, but you're just saying he moves up because of Wheaton?
He moves up because of Wheaton. He looked very good to me. 3 catches, I believe, on 4 targets. I just want him in the back of your mind because if the depth chart starts to fade away with some of these injuries and things happening, there's nobody really there. So there's an opportunity there.
I'll tell you who Trubisky loved. Adam Shaheen.
Yeah.
Like, all his targets, he's like, hey, Shaheen, can I throw it to you yet? No, all right. I'm going to throw it to you.
You guys remember Kevin White?
Wait, who?
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, wow.
Kevin White.
All right, let's talk about rookie wide receivers. We've already talked about Kenny Golladay. Those smooth routes, 3 for 4, 53 yards and 2 touchdowns.
So smooth.
Let's talk about Mack Hollins
Yes.
and Dede Westbrook. Westbrook had a 42-yard touchdown. Mack Hollins, 4 for 5 with 64 yards and a touchdown in the Eagles preseason opener.
Running with the ones.
Yes,
I was going to say, is Torrey Smith an afterthought as a signing here in Philly?
I think Torrey Smith is an afterthought. Mack Hollins is a guy, I almost put him as my rising star. Part of the reason I didn't was because you were going with Zach Ertz, and I thought, I could talk about a different team. But Mack Hollins impressed me even more than Kenny Golladay. I thought
That's
both
fair.
were great. But when I was watching and I didn't know who it was on the field, I rewound the play because I was so impressed, and then it was Mack Hollins, and he did it several times, and he did it with the ones. He did it with Carson Wentz. He did it against the ones, and now you have Jordan Matthews leaving, and there's all this, Nelson Aguilar is maybe he's going to be good enough to finally step up, but I think it's going to be Mack Hollins. He really impressed me, and that's right now a guy that as a last pick, you want to take that flyer shot. He actually could be a starting. He could be the second wide receiver in 2 wide receiver.
Is that what the 2 is? The 2's the second.
He sure is, but he could have that role.
He's the number 1, number 2.
He's the top 2.
He's at least in there. Starting the season, he has the chance to come out as a starting wide receiver for what could be a good offense.
Very
he
interesting.
Looked talented.
Very interesting. Someone to pay attention to over the next couple games. Also, Rico Gathers, yet again, 4 for 6 targets, 47 and a touchdown. Big man. He's a big man. I told you got to just pay attention. Dynasty league owners, you need to pick them up.
I also thought Juju looked good. I've been an Eli Rogers believer, and I have not wanted to just give it over to Juju, but it looked to me from the way they lined up and how they got him involved that
good Juju?
That there was some good Juju for Juju.
He was on my list.
Can we just Juju, like what are those candies?
Jujubes.
Those are the worst, right? Can we all agree?
Yes.
They're just the worst.
Those are like real old school candies, like Milk Duds.
I'm shocked that you don't like them.
Yeah.
But those take your teeth out.
When my prediction article, my Pittsburgh prediction was related to Juju.
Nice.
I said that he would be an occasionally start-worthy revelation because he's a good player, and I think he might have found the right team. Couple little headlines. You guys basically jump in if you want. Terrence West, 5 rushes for 23 and a touchdown. Deion Lewis got a lot of playing time. You can look at that as good or bad, but 7 for 32 and 4 receptions for 23 yards, so he produced. Spencer Ware, 4 rushes for 6 yards and a touchdown, had 3 catches.
Spencer Ware looked great.
I was going to say, I wanted to highlight Spencer Ware will be starting for the Chiefs.
Ho-hum Antonio Gates got a touchdown.
Do not forget about the old man Gates.
He's going to catch touchdowns, people.
He'll be on the field. He will be ruining your day when you start Hunter Henry. And last year, I think Gates was 2-to-1 target-wise with Henry. I would think it's going to be 50-50 target-wise this year, and he's still going to make you angry when you're around the goal line and you wish Hunter Henry caught the ball because Antonio Gates has proven throughout a long career that he will catch touchdowns. And then Thomas Rawls.
Yep.
Now, you'd be surprised. I've been on the Thomas Rawls train for a long time, but you'd be surprised to hear me say, I don't think you need to read too much into this situation. Rawls did start the game over Eddie Lacy. That is important. You don't need to move Eddie Lacy into your 4th round. But if he's there in the 6th round, I still love Eddie Lacy. I still think that this is an opportunity where Lacy could be the starter by week 1. He's still recovering from injury, but it was interesting to see Rawls out there. It's trouble, okay? Pro-size Rawls and Lacy and a battle line. I don't want that under my Christmas tree, okay, as a fantasy owner. I don't want it. Give me something else. Give me another choice out there than having to pick those 3 guys.
Well, the nice thing
I'm probably just going to take the free Rawls at the end of the draft.
That's what I was going to say. If you do go the Rawls way, it didn't cost you anything. The last names that I would throw out, just looking through my list of notes of guys that stood out, Mike Evans looked great. Again, go figure.
Never heard of him.
The targets were great. I'm just more and more confident on him lately. Chris Conley, someone needs to step up. Everything's going towards
a Chris Conley note.
Tyreek Hill, but Chris Conley looked great. He had a great touchdown call back for offensive pass interference, but that was one of those like half the time it wouldn't have been called, and it was a really great
play.
move. Robbie Anderson looked like the clear one for the Jets right now. And then keep your eyes on Jaron Brown. I know John Brown wasn't there, but he was the second wide receiver in 2 wide receiver sets. He is, to me, a great sleeper.
The couple names I wanted to mention were Jacquizz
Yeah,
Rodgers.
I got him on my list too.
Just saying, he got all the work after Martin was done. Martin is the starter, but for those first 3 weeks, it's going to be Jacquizz Rodgers. Paul Perkins, Smash Jackson, good friend of the show.
No, he's
in trouble.
Right now it's just Paul Perkins.
He is officially Paul Perkins right now. He's going to get overdrafted. Paul Perkins' production is going to be, can he get you a big play?
It is not good. We should have brought him up earlier. We'll talk about it more. It is bad.
Orleans Darkwa.
It's not just Darkwa too. It's Vereen.
Yep.
Like Vereen's free. Perkins you got to pay for, and you don't know what's coming. Because Perkins, he's never shown me anything on film that made me say you can be an every down back. And this offense can't run the ball. That is high alert in New York. If you've got your Paul Perkins shares and you've got somebody who still believes in him as a starter, I'd move it. I'd move him.
I agree.
Rookie running backs, Tariq Cohen looked pretty good for Chicago.
There you go.
And then it's super deep, and it could be the Brock Osweiler talking, but Seth DeValve, tight end for Cleveland, got a couple deep shots. And like I said, that could just be because it's Brock Osweiler who only targets the tight end because he's too afraid to throw to a wide receiver.
And Njoku's still recovering.
Right.
Yeah.
But just a name to keep in mind.
Football!
Yeah.
We're going to jump
exciting.
into a couple mailbag questions because I don't want to end the show without getting to some listener questions. Real quick, though, where do you draft Zeke? That was one thing we didn't touch that earlier. Where do you draft Ezekiel Elliott? I think that's the question that I accidentally buried when we were flying through the news.
Yeah, we need to talk about it.
But how and where, I think it's – let me put it this way. We've had the show going into our 3rd full season. I'm looking at the Zeke situation today as the most challenging piece of advice that we need to give listeners because of all the variables of an appeal, possibly missed games, the impact a player like Ezekiel Elliott would have on your team when you get to start him. Where are you drafting?
The threat of even more punishment.
Ugh.
I think that the range of outcomes. So first round, you cannot draft Ezekiel Elliott, and it sucks because almost every question I fielded over this weekend was, okay, do I keep Zeke as my first round keeper? And if you're playing for 2018 and you want to hold on to those rights as his Zeke as your keeper, then yes, but you cannot have him in the first round. I think that his ADP is going to be anywhere from the 2nd to the 4th, or maybe he falls into the 5th round because we did our stat adjustments where we essentially removed 6 games of production from Elliott, and he's still an RB1 because that's how far up his production is and what he can do for your team. If I'm in a draft, which I still haven't faced it yet, so I have not faced the actual I'm in a live decision, I have to do this, I think I would draft him in the 4th round. But I just when it actually comes to it and those other guys, the other names are looking at me and they're high-tiered, they're going to play those first 6 weeks. I'm not sure that I can pull the trigger. I can say that 5th round, I would do it. I'm willing to take a 5th round guy, sit on my bench for 6 weeks and believe that I have a top 3 running back for the rest of the season.
Yeah, rankings-wise for me, he looks like he's going to be about a third-round guy, so I would have to make that decision based on who I believe I could pair with him late for those first few weeks, and also what is the size of my bench. Most leagues are either 5 or 6 bench spots, and if you've got 5 bench spots, I'm more inclined to push him back towards, the 4th or maybe take him, wait to the 5th, which means I probably won't get him. If I've got that 6th bench spot, because when you have him, assuming he can't go on your IR, which some leagues suspended players can.
Most places you cannot. The last time I played on NFL.com, you could, which is an absolute.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous,
especially that it's the NFL.com that is.
Meanwhile,
allowing
you can't put a player who has been labeled out into that slot like you can for ESPN.
But you do need to keep that in mind, because if you draft Zeke, that removes a bench spot for you to be able to make waiver wire adjustments, to make streaming quarterback, streaming tight end, streaming defensive pickups for those reasons.
All right, let's go ahead and jump in the mailbag.
Mailbag.
Mailbag, yeah!
All right, if you have a question for the podcast, we'd love to answer it. Go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com, click the Submit a Question button in the menu, or you can dial our voicemail hotline, 302-464-TFFB. We'll get to as many as we can. The show's all about making your team better, helping you enjoy your fantasy football season all the more. So let's jump into a voicemail question to kick things off.
Hi, this is Kadeem from Edmonton. Watch all you guys' podcasts. Love you guys. I have a question. We have a 12-team PPR league that is 3 keepers. We started last year, so our keepers are set. For the next year, should we do a snake or a linear draft? Thanks, guys.
Good question.
I like the question. We do a 3-keeper league, and we have decided on going linear, and I like it. I think it helps balance, year after year. You've got the great teams who are going to have the better keepers, and they, won the championship. Put them at the bat.
I think that what you give up to keep, it plays a factor into this, because for our keeper we're linear, but you just get 3 keepers. It doesn't remove a draft spot from you. In my other 2 keeper, you give up essentially the ADP for the player, so it just stays a snake draft.
Yep.
Ryan in Florida, just curious how many leagues each of you guys are in and how you manage to keep up with all of them. Thank you. Love the show.
The answer is too many. How do you keep up with all of them? You don't. You don't.
What you do is you prioritize. I mean, that's the truth.
We own we're in leagues together as a group a lot, which helps for our peripheral leagues. Like we're in that Fantasy Pros Invitational and Scotty Fish, but we own a league together as a team. So that makes it easy to stay on top of kind of the peripheral leagues.
We just always assume someone else is going to do something in there. No one does.
That's why we lose. I'm in 3 that I really, really care about and pay attention to.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm in 6 or 7, real leagues this year, but there's 3 that I'm going to pay attention to.
All right.
You'll still pay attention to
of course, leagues, but 3 that I really care about, I'm going to be grinding on.
All right, another voicemail.
Hey, guys, this is Andrew in Idaho. Love the show. I was just calling because I'm wondering what you're willing to give up to get the first pick in the draft. I'm drafting near the back of my draft, about 8th. And I was thinking of offering that pick plus a 3rd rounder for the first overall pick plus a 10th. Anyways, an answer would be great. Love the show again. Thanks.
In your example, I'd do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
I'd give up my 3rd round pick and my number 8 overall.
And a 10th.
No, he said he'd get back a 10th.
Oh.
So to get the number 1 in a heartbeat. It's not a question. Having a player like David Johnson or Le'Veon Bell, your choice is a game breaker for me. So a 3rd round pick,
it's always
more than happy to do it.
The exercise we always advise is put names to these players. So he said the 8th spot.
Yeah.
So you're looking at Freeman or AJ Green. So let's say, would you trade Devonta Freeman and Terrell Pryor for David Johnson?
Yeah,
yes.
Of course.
If the answer is yes, then
do the trade.
Then you make the trade.
And if it was that he also is giving up a 10th, I would do that as well. I mean, Andy talks about this all the time.
The
10th is nothing. You just sweeten the pot. You make it seem like it's a trade that you can't turn down.
I believe he did say he's going to get it back.
Yeah,
though, just to
get
balance
the 10 back.
Sure.
All right, 2 quarterback question from Andrew in Roanoke, Virginia. 10-team PPR with a super flex. Keep Devonta Freeman for a 16th or Rodgers for a 2nd.
Freeman.
Yep.
Yeah.
Freeman. I'll take Freeman for free.
It's unanimous. Michael Bell off of Twitter wants to know what's the earliest round you're going to draft Kareem Hunt in?
Earliest round for Kareem Hunt would probably be
I'll say 8th round for me.
Yeah, right now players going in the 8th. You've got Jaquiz, which I still think that's a bit too high. Yeah, 8th round looks pretty good. I mean, that's where you've got Hunt going right now, Samaje Perine. In the 7th round, you've got players that I'm going to take over Hunt, like Terrence West and Frank Gore.
Yeah, I feel like the 7th round is when
7th round you might be able to
starting caliber guys fade away, and then you're just starting to take your shots on the players you like.
All right, last question. Hassan in Raul. That's what it says. He's inside Raul, which sounds like a person.
Bonjour.
Which means that's definitely a bonjour. I don't know where Raul is.
He could be anywhere. Raul's
Americans.
in his vehicle right now driving around.
Brooks, do you know where Raul is?
It sounds so dumb right
now.
We do not sound dumb. I don't think Raul is a normal place that you should know. I took geography. I went to college.
Spell it for me.
R-A-U-L.
R-A-U.
It's a person's name.
All right.
It's like get out of Raul. He doesn't want you in there.
Maybe it's a delightful place.
I'm sure. I meant the person. If you're inside a person, get out.
I don't like
Brooks,
this
did you find it?
I can't find it.
This is dangerous.
I have the 7th pick in a standard league.
Maybe he meant Raleigh.
Okay. I have the 7th pick in a standard league, and I feel like it's the hardest draft spot this season. Who would you guys go with in a standard league? McCoy, AJ, Evans, Jordy, or someone else? Love the show. Keep up the awesome work.
It's funny. The 7th has been a really easy pick until
McCoy
the Zeke
is
news.
there. I'll take McCoy.
With the Zeke news, McCoy's probably going to go at 6.
Yeah, probably.
And so McCoy would be the pick if he is on the board. If he is not on the board, I lean towards AJ Green.
I'm with you.
And I would take either Freeman or Jordy.
You would take
definitely have options.
You're saying if McCoy's not there.
Right.
Oh,
those are the if I want running back, I'm likely taking Freeman. If I want a wide receiver, I would take Jordy.
All right. Hey, we're back in the rankings again tomorrow. I believe it's quarterbacks. Am I right, Brooks?
Oh, yeah.
That's my team.
Got the quarterback ranking show tomorrow. Make sure you stay tuned. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, and we will. Woo! That's loud. Check out playdraft.com/ballers if you want to play some best ball with us. Love their app. Gotta get it.
Goodbye.
Take it easy.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.